Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a nice big 8-game slate for Major League Baseball. We have a really solid slate here. Pitching is decent, and I think there's good value across the board. Though I feel like the pricing's better on FanDuel than DraftKings today. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? It helps the channel a lot. Also, please share the video, and also drop your home run call in the comments below, and we will shout you out if you get one right. With that said, let's get into our core plays here. For Arizona, I have Ketel Marte and Nick Ahmad here on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, I have Anthony Rizzo, Ketel Marte, and Ian Happ. With that said, let's go ahead and get into our top plays at pitcher here on DraftKings. So let's get started in this lineup. So we're going to start with Zach Gallen for Arizona. He is the most expensive option on the slate for a good reason. He's got a plus matchup here. He's got 40 fantasy point upside. He's got the best strikeout rate aside from Cortez, and he has all the upside you could want. Not only that, but he's in a really good matchup here against Miami, so I really like his upside, and he's been solid so far this season. His price is high, but he is worth a look here in this slate. Dylan Case is also in play for Chicago. He has had some ups and downs, but he's been throttled due to the really tough schedule. Last season, he smashed Kansas City 3 times, and I look for him to have some upside like that again today. I didn't really find a whole lot to like in Kansas City other than Pasquanto, so I think Case is a decent option as a P2 play, or even as a P1 alternative to Gallen. Then we'll look at Nestor Cortez for the Yankees. He's got the best matchup he's had this season against Oakland. He hasn't been quite as good as we expected him to be throughout the season so far, but he has strikeout potential, and his price is fair enough that he's definitely rosterable here as a P2 option or a P1 option. His K potential is really what gives him a lot of upside here, though his upside might be slightly more limited than we'd expect it to be because he just hasn't really had the top tier stuff that we're used to with him. However, this is a great matchup for him, so I really do like the upside. Hunter Brown is also in play for Houston. Now, this is a tough matchup for him, and he has been boom or bust throughout the season so far. He's had 3 games where he's been super aggressive and solid, where he's given up no earned runs, and then he's had 3 games where he's given up 2, 4, and 4. And depending on which version that we get, I mean, you see that there's a big stark difference between the total innings he pitches in each of those. For not even 5 and the 3 that weren't good, and 3 where he had 7 innings. So, and not only that, but he won all 3 of the 7 inning games, and those are against good teams too. So, this is a toughish matchup here. The Angels don't strike out like they did last year. He does have good strikeout stuff, so he has got some upside here. But he's somewhat high risk, high reward, simply because there's so many good options available. Logan Gilbert is also in play for Seattle. I don't like the matchup at all against Texas. He's been up and down also. He has a good upside here, but I do think he's kind of a contrarian play. He's not a much play by any stretch of imagination. And then Anthony Descalafani, sorry for butchering your name, for the Giants. He's got an interesting matchup here against Washington. He's got some good stuff. He's pitched well. His strikeout rate is the big concern here. He really doesn't have a huge strikeout rate most of the time, though he's had a couple of decent games. But San Francisco does have some batters I do like, and so he's kind of a high risk, high reward, but he's a very good contrarian play on the slate and could prove to be definitely useful from that perspective. Moving into the catchers and first baseman, I really just have 2 guys I like a lot. Will Smith, being expensive, has really good potential here. He's priced well, priced high because of his play, but he hits the ball well, and he's got a great matchup. And then Mariano for Arizona. If he draws a start today, he's a great value play here. He's got good potential. He doesn't always start or hit the ball well, but he's hitting a 294, and he's got that home run potential. In this particular matchup, he just has really good upside, and so I think Arizona is a great option on this slate as a good stackable team. Freddie Freeman is in play at first base for the Dodgers, though he is fairly expensive, and he's had 3 games with under 5 fantasy points in a row, but he definitely is rosterable on this slate. If you choose to roster him, he's definitely somebody I like. Jose Abreu is a very good value play for this position for Houston. The metrics jump off the chart for him today. Even though he hasn't had a home run yet this season, he's had a few games now with some hits in the last couple of ones, including some good fantasy games where he's gotten some walks and stuff. So I don't think that he's a must play, but he definitely has some upside here. But due to the metrics that he's got, Anthony Rizzo is a really good option, and if he was a little bit cheaper, he would have been a core play. He's hit the ball really well so far this season, and he's got home run potential here. Great matchup, nothing to dislike. You could also consider LeMahieu, Pasquanto, and Lamont Wade Jr. at first base. Moving to second base, we're going to look at Ketel Marte, who is a core play for me. Even though he's fairly expensive, the metrics just jump off the charts for me on this guy. He's got home run potential here. He's a core play and a home run block, in my opinion, and so I really like his upside. Gabby Torres is also in play for the Yankees. He's hit the ball decently well. Not quite as good as some of the other options, but he's got a really good matchup here and good metrics for this one. I expect the Yankees, at least the front half of their lineup, to do really well today, and so I like his upside. Luis Arias is also in play for Miami. He's kind of high risk, high reward against Gallen, but he hits the ball so well that he's going to score you some fantasy points probably. But as far as how many, that's really the issue here. And he's not priced ideally, but he is in play. And then Dubon for Houston is a Hail Mary play at this position. He's got high risk, high reward written all over him. He's got great metrics for this situation, but he hasn't really had any big games yet. But that could change in a couple of swings. So then we'll look at third base and Davis for San Francisco. Now, I really do like San Francisco's upside here against Irvin for Washington, and he's hitting the ball extremely well so far this season, including 7 home runs already. He's got nice upside. He's priced fairly, and he's got some great potential here in this matchup. Alex Bregman is also in play, though he has not hit the ball well this season. He is a good option, a better option on FanDuel where his price is cheaper, but he's got nice upside, and I like his potential. Evan Longoria is also in play for Arizona. He has some interesting upside here, despite not hitting the ball well this season yet. He has good metrics for this matchup, and so he is in play from that perspective. You could also consider Emmanuel Rivera as well at third base. Moving to shortstop, we'll start with Jeremy Pena, who's in play here, and he's hit the ball fairly well and has home run potential. The batting average isn't perfect, and he does have a lot of strikeout games, but he definitely has a good upside. Mookie Betts is also in play if you want to pay up a lot, though he is somewhat hard to roster due to the price and the fact that he's not hitting the ball particularly great. But he definitely has the upside here. And then Nick Ahmed, he is a core play for me for Arizona simply because I really like Arizona a lot. And he has very specific moments where he looks like a really great option and have home run potential. And he's had a few of those so far this season. And as you can see, he's had some good games. And when he's in those situations, he's a guy I like to roster. This is definitely one of those situations. He's also taken a day off, so we'll have to see. Obviously, we'll make sure he's in the lineup. But he looks like a great play if he draws a start. Moving on to the outfielders, we'll start with Mike Trout, who's obviously extremely expensive, but I really do like his upside. If you don't like Hunter Brown, he'd be a good way to hit him, and I think he's got tremendous upside here. James Outman is high risk, high reward today. He definitely has upside, but he has a tougher matchup, and he has been kind of up and down the last week or so, and so I do like his upside, but his price makes him a little bit harder to roster. Chase McCormick is also in play for Houston just because of his price. He's got good metrics now. He was on 10-day injury list. It looks like he should be good to go now. And if he is, then if he does draw the start today, he'll be in play. If he doesn't, obviously don't use him. Jesse Winker is underpriced still because he hasn't really had a big game, though he's finally starting to get on base the last few games, and his batting average is starting to creep up ever so slightly. I like his upside here. He doesn't start every game, so do make sure he does start. But he does. Eventually, he's going to hit home run, and if he can do that here, then this is going to be the position. This is a pretty good spot for him to do so, I should say. Lamont Wade Jr. is also in play for the outfield for San Francisco. He can also play first base. The batting average is decent. He's hitting the ball pretty decently as well, and he has the potential for home runs in this particular matchup, especially in this nice plus matchup. Taylor Ward is also in play for the Angels. I really like his upside. He hasn't hit the ball great yet this season, but he's finally starting the last 5 or 6 days. He's been hitting the ball pretty solid each game. I like the upside, and his price is pretty fair as well. Lordy Gurriel for Jr. for Arizona. He's just a great option in the Arizona stack. He's had 3 straight monster games. The home runs are cooking right now. I like his upside. I've mentioned him a lot in the last couple weeks, I think, and he's had some really solid games. Just go back where the iron is hot. And then Jock Peterson for San Francisco. He's got some really good upside here. Despite his price and his batting average, he has potential in this matchup if he draws a good start. His price is too cheap for his potential. So with that said, guys, let's move over to FanDuel. Excuse me. And it's a little bit shorter list here for the pitchers. Basically, Zach Gallen, Dylan Case, and Nestor Cortez are the guys that we want to roster today, potentially one of those three. Now, I think you can roster Gallen with all the value, but if you want to pay up for some of the other options, then Cortez or Case will definitely be viable. I would probably rank them Gallen, Case, and then Cortez based on the upside on FanDuel. So let's go ahead and look at our catchers and first baseman. Anthony Rizzo is a core play, and his price really fairly at $2,900. I do think he's got home run potential today. He's hitting the ball fairly well. He's got a great matchup. Freddie Freeman is also in play here for the Dodgers. Now, he's pretty expensive and a little bit harder to roster unless you pay down a little bit at pitcher, but he's got some nice upside, and he obviously has home run potential. And then Jose Abreu is a kind of a Hail Mary play at this position. Hasn't hit the ball great this season, but he has got the metrics in this situation, and so I like his upside. Moving into the second baseman, we'll look at Ketel Marte, who's just way too cheap here on FanDuel. I love his upside here today. I think he's a home run hitter today, and he's a core play, especially with the Arizona stat going. DJ LeMahieu is also in play at this position. He has some nice upside here. He's not a big home run guy, but he's getting RBIs, hitting the ball, and that's what we like to see here. And then Gabby Torres is also in play. If you like a New York Yankees stack, then these guys are definitely worth rostering with their prices. They have nice upside and good potential. Moving to third base, we'll look at J.D. Davis for the San Francisco Giants, another team I kind of like stackable-wise. They have some really good upside here. He has good home run potential, and he's hitting the ball really well lately. Bregman is also in play, though he's a little bit riskier than some of the others due to the fact his batting average has been low, but it only takes one swing to hit a home run, and he's got home run potential in this situation, and so he draws a pretty awesome start for him. Evan Longoria is a contrarian play here, value play, Hail Mary play, if you want to call it. Hasn't hit the ball particularly great, but Arizona stack is definitely in play here, and he's got some nice upside. Jeremy Pena for shortstop is in play. He's priced pretty fairly here, and so that gives him really good metrics. Adames is also in play, a little bit underpriced here on FanDuel, though the price is not ideal on DraftKings. He can be rostered here, though his batting average is leaving a little bit to be desired. But if you go with the Milwaukee kind of stack, then he's definitely somebody to fit in there. Ahmad is also in play here on FanDuel, though he's not a must play over here due to his price because there's so much less discrepancy in price over on FanDuel versus DraftKings. Where over on DraftKings, you kind of need to roster a cheap guy, and this is a good position to do it at. Moving into the outfield, we'll look at Trout, who is very pricey, but very home run potentially today. I really like his upside here, and it's a great matchup for him. Outman is in play with a little bit of a high risk, high reward, but his price is cheap enough that he's viable. He's hitting the ball really well, so he's got the upside. It's just a matter of the situation. Lourdes Gurriel for Arizona is a great option today. He's had some monster games lately. I like his upside. I'll continue to see him hit the ball well. His price is too cheap also. Julio Rodriguez is in play for Seattle. He's been robust today, high risk, high reward due to the matchup, but he's got good potential. Then we'll look at Jesse Winker, who is very cheap on this site, so that gives him some utility here. He's not a must play because you don't have to pay down for him really, but he definitely has potential if he can get a home run. That would definitely be nice. Ian Happ is a core play for me on FanDuel because his price is just too cheap, and there's certain situations where the metrics align, and he looks like he's going to hit a home run, and this is what we have today, and so he looks like a great option. Taylor Ward is also in play for the Angels. He has some nice upside in this matchup, despite not being particularly great all so far this season, but he's got good metrics and good matchup. And then Jock Peterson for San Francisco also in play as kind of a Hail Mary or a San Francisco stack completer at this position. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave below, and have a nice day, guys.